Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
(1969), The Mission to Space. I do like space. I do like the space program, I guess. I'm not really into it on the history, but the idea of like trying to go to the moon, that interests me. I like Star Wars, but that whole Star Wars space thing is kind of lost on me. I like sci-fi, but I'm more of a Logan's Run type of guy, like apocalyptic future, or this is the great future that isn't so great when you look at it. Logan's Run, great, my favorite movie of all time. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. I like this race for space. In 1969, if you don't know, is the year that America allegedly, or did, go to space, or to the moon. And this game is about the race to the moon. And you're going to be getting workers and scientists and researchers to accomplish things in order to finally propel yourself to the moon. So you may build the technology, and then you will, I guess, orbit the moon, and then you will, or not orbit the moon, orbit the Earth, and then you can orbit the moon, and then finally you go to the moon and you come back. And that usually is the last thing that you'll do. You can do it at any turn you want. It's completely pointless to do it before the last turn, because you can only do it once. So it is a tech tree type of game where you're placing scientists and workers to beef up your stuff to make it easier for you to go in outer space and do things, which is things means score points. But by the end of the game, everybody pretty much did the same thing and accomplished everything the same, and there's very little difference between everybody. I'm not really sure. I won twice. I'm not really sure what I did those times versus when I lost, what I would have done differently. There are games that are coming out that are play once. You got Pandemic Legacy, you got Time Stories. Unfortunately, this kind of falls into it. Like, the first time was fun. The second time was less fun. The third time was less fun than that. And that's not really what you want from a game. You want it to get better. And you want the experience to grow, and you want what you learn to help you in the future games to be a better player. Unfortunately, in this game, I felt like I had done everything the first time, and I experienced it all. And I think that comes from the things that you gain are really generic. So you will improve in a couple different areas. Like a space helmet, I think, is one of them. And when you improve in that, that will help you with two other ways and the moon. And everything helps you on the moon. So I'm not sure getting one thing helped you any more than anything else. They're equally important because they're not any more important. They don't do anything different. For example, in, let's say, an adventure game, I get a bow and arrow. Perhaps it's not as strong as a sword, but I can shoot it from a range attack. I get the sword, it's probably stronger than a bow and arrow, but I have to be next to you. Equal the bow and arrow and the sword, perhaps, but because they have different strengths and weaknesses. With this one, the technology in the helmet, let's say, there was no difference. It's just they would help me on this track versus helping me on that track. So I'll get the helmet and do this track. Then I'll get this technology and do this track. I'm going to do both tracks anyway. I'm going to get both technology, so it doesn't matter what order I really do it in. That was a little bizarre. There are differences in the guys you hire, but you only have so much money. And I felt like by the end, we all had to take the same shortcuts. Maybe that was groupthink. I don't know. the theme was right on for me, but the experience was missing, which is weird because I would usually love a game like this. Perhaps the problem is, in my mind, it would be compared to Manhattan Project. And the problem is that Manhattan Project would blow this out of the water. There were no cards for variety. There wasn't anything I could get that you couldn't. So, in Manhattan Project, I might be able to get a card that gives me, for 2 workers, 3 yellow cake. And you might get something for 3 workers, gives you 4 yellow cake. Kind of the same thing, but different. And this one, it was just like, we're kind of doing the same thing. I don't know. Am I making any sense here? It works. It's solid. But it's not going to bring you back to the table. And it's a shame because it's so close. I really want to like this game. But unfortunately, I'm going to purge it. But let me say this. Not a terrible game. Please play this game. You will enjoy your experiences with this game. This is probably something you can find on the secondhand market. Or, I don't know if it's still in print or not. But, you're at a con and you want to try it out. It's not a bad game. I've played bad games. This is not it. This is a good game. Just perhaps not enough variety. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't have enough variety to keep you coming back. It needs more things to do. And Alien Frontiers did this really well with some of the stuff they added on to the peripheral of the game. Maybe if this game had that, I would come back to it. But for now, I pretty much do the same thing every game, which is exactly what you're going to do, exactly what you're going to do, exactly what you're going to do. We're all going to kind of do the same thing. And then it just, who got furthest around the moon seemed to be the difference. It's going to be a purge. Okay, here are the components for 1969. It comes in a fairly standard sized box. You're going to get some wording in different languages and a little bit of how the game looks. I don't think the back is that exciting, but I think this front art is wonderful. Open it up, you're going to get a rule book that will come in lots of different languages, but you only have a couple pages in English, and it'll go over all the components and what everything does, which is great. You're going to have these player boards that each person will get 2 of these. They're very flimsy, but luckily they just sit flat on the board. They don't move, and you can see they have pretty good artwork on them. And you'll fill these up with cubes and things you can do, and these will be how you actually upgrade what you're doing. Then you'll have a board, which will kind of look like a spreadsheet, I guess. So up here you got your trip to the moon, wrap around and back to Earth. You're going to have these scoring facilities. Looks like a lot of numbers and stuff, but will all make sense when you play. And down here you have your cubes and prices for your scientists and things you'll be doing. And then the round track will be down here and what you get. Big giant board. Lots of things to do on it, but very simple. Very simple. You are going to have, for each country, a rocket ship. This is really nice cardboard. It just kind of stands up. And you will have a number of these little flags for each of the countries. This happens to be Russia. You will have some very generic dice that will come with different little stickers on each side that you roll. Very generic. You will have cards. Let's open these bad boys up. Look at this. This one has a 1 on it. A 1, a 2, yeah. 3. Oh, look at this. Look at the artwork on that. 3, yeah. Could you be more excited about that 3? Okay. Alright, that's what these are. 1, 2s, and 3s. Run-of-the-mill cubes in different colors. You've seen these before with some tokens here. But these, regular, small, little wooden cubes. A number of different countries. Remember when Canada went to the moon? Remember that? Okay. And we get a moon as a first player marker. It's really cool. And then we're going to get a number. Wow, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Paper money. Yeah, baby. Just like the real thing. Paper money. Great. And I happen to have a 1969 unopened expansion in here. This is a 1969 promo 2012. This gives you a little bit more to play with. A couple other things you can do. And that's the components. Everything is fairly good. Cubes are pretty generic. The money's paper. These little things. Here's America. Nice. The rockets are nice touch. These lack any kind of artwork on it. The dice, everything's subpar. I mean, it's nice. It's good quality. But the art could have been better. I mean, even the art here of these guys is just kind of weird. These guys are in their underbritches for the 50s or 60s, I guess. I mean, I get what they're getting at. Just weird. And lots of little numbers on here. I mean, it all makes sense when you start doing it. But just, there's a score track around it. So that's the components for 1969. The rule book for 1969 is going to come in a couple of different languages. I prefer to stay on the English side of things. And you have a list of all the components, which were nice. The game setup, which is nice. And the rules. And the rules were very easy for me to understand. The rules are very simple. If you ever played, this kind of game where you roll some dice and you do it, and dice rolling can mess you up in it. But the rules were very clear. I didn't have any problems. The listing what the scientists did are here. The listing of the research that you're doing is here. And then the scoring track. Very easy to understand. You're not going to have any problems. You're probably going to need maybe 15 to 20 minutes to read the book. Really what you're going to be looking at is the powers. What things do. Mainly the cubes. The other powers are pretty straightforward. And you can pick it up. What does this do? And you kind of pick it up. The cubes are where you're going to want to know what they do. And that might take an extra 5 minutes to just kind of wrap around your head. But fairly simple. And you leave the book out and it shouldn't be a problem. A player aid probably would have helped with this game. But the icons do make sense after a play. So maybe in half a play. So not too many problems there. Rulebook was fine. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things about how this game works. Here is the game board. When the game plays, there will be cubes for the different scientists that are down here. So the white ones will go there, blue will go here, red will go here. I'm not going to put them all out because when you do, you can't really see what's going on very well. These in particular will be the green ones. And that's kind of how they go. And you got black down here and red up here. I'm not going to show you everything about the game. I'm going to show you a few things. And then you'll be able to go from there. So I'm going to show you just kind of how a turn will go. And then there isn't a lot of nuance to this game at all. So over here, you will have the turn track. And the game will go through. I don't know why they did this. You don't play with these rounds. You start here. And what you're going to have here is, and this is kind of weird how you go 1, 2, and you go back to the top. It would have made more sense to just go around, but whatever. Just keep in mind you have to go back to the top and down. And what you have here is each round how much money that you get. So this is going to represent, so 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Every year you get a million more. So the first thing you do is just move the turn marker down and you take your money. Everybody gets the same amount of money. And then what you can do is you can hire your scientists. And what you're going to do is, that's turn marker, is you're going to put your scientists, or your cubes, if you will, onto one of these. And what these are going to do is they're going to give you powers, if you will. So for like example, this one will turn a blue into a green. This one makes, whenever you buy a cube, $2 million cheaper. You get one reroll. Every time you roll a red, you get $3 million. This gives you some cards. $2 million less to go on a mission. And these will, what they do is they give you a green for each one of these that you have. And you're going to try to accomplish these missions. It'll make sense in a second, I promise. So it's a pretty simple game. So at this point, what you'll do is you'll spend your money buying these cubes or scientists. And they're going to have different prices. I'll go through each what they do. A basic scientist is $5 million. It counts as one researcher. It's all it does. It's generic. Red is your genius. It's $11 million. So it's going to represent 2 researchers. So one of these is equal to 2 whites. Cost $1 million more. But the reason why you go that route, because you only have so many spaces here. 2 for each one of these. So if I was able to put 2 reds then I would have 4 of these. Where if I put 2 whites, I would only have 2 of those. So because the spaces are limited economically, and that can be very, very important on this board. So let's say you save $2 million for, let me give you an easier one, $2 million on every cube. So if you had 1 there, 1 researcher, this would cost you $9 million instead of 11. But if I had 2 reds, and each researcher would be a 2, 4, 6, $8 million, so this would only cost me $3 million. So that's a great one to get early on before you start buying people. Then you're going to have your greens, which are famous scientists. They're $9 million. They count as 1 researcher, but they're worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. And then you're going to have your rookie, which in the book is purple, but on the board it's blue. It counts as 1 researcher. They only cost $3 million, but you lose 2 victory points at the end of the game. So these are going to cost you victory points. And then you're going to have the blacks, which are spies, right down here. They cost $7 million. They don't count as a researcher. What you do is you put them on your opponent's boards, and they count as 0, and they lose a victory point for each one they have on their board, and they clog up their deck. I don't know if that's the best way to go, but perhaps it would be. And that's the only one you can place or would want to place on somebody else's boards, and that's how those work. So at this point, after you get your money, you're going to hire those or buy these cards, and these cards cost $2 million each, and they can boost, and they're just going to have 1s, 2s, and 3s on them, and they're going to boost you when you're going through. I don't know that you can live off just the cards, but they will supplement and help you get through things. And then the majority of the game, how you're going to score victory points will be the remainder of the board. And this is when you'll go on missions, okay? This is a moon mission. You can do it 1 time. You're likely to do it at the end of the game. It works like every other mission except for it's worth a lot more victory points. Everybody will do this on the last turn. You don't have to, but while you would do any other turn makes absolutely no sense. Otherwise, you'll be getting victory points on these boards. Likely here first and then here, although you can go to any one that you want. And the way you execute it is you put your rocket on one of these spaces to signify you're going to go there. You can do each one once. So I couldn't go here twice or here twice. Each one time and through the board. What you'll do is you'll roll your 5 dice, which could be red, blue, or green. And a green is a success. So this time I got 3 success. A blue is a neutral result, and a red is a failure. Now remember, I have things here. This gives me 3 million for every failure. This can turn a neutral into a success. So there's different ways. This gives me a reroll. Ways to mitigate this. So it's not just roll it and you get what you're stuck with. But now this board, remember, so if I was doing this one right here with this microchip, and I had a cube on the microchip, I would get a green for every researcher. Remember, the red is 2 researchers. So if I had 1 red cube, I would have 2 greens in addition to this. And you're going to move up this track. Your rocket will move up for every success you have. Now, people can play cards against you, and these cards can be played to knock you back down from other players. And they're worth victory points. So if you get the first spot, 0, 1, 2, 4, 5. Here is 0, 0, 1, 2, 4, 7, 9. And then these are worth the most, 0, 0, 0, but it goes up to 15. So if you only get 2 or 3, you get nothing, but the top will be 15. So that's kind of how that will work. And you'll gain prestige points. The round will end. You'll put your flag down here at the top showing you accomplished this, or at least went after it. And then everything will repeat. And on this last one, it works exactly the same way, except for it's going to be a much longer because you're going all the way around. It can be worth as much as 35 points. So this will usually determine the winner of the game and how well you do. And I guess how you build this can determine who's going to win. But at the end of the game, most of this will be covered up, these automatic successes. The moon one gives a success for everything. So everything on this board will count on the moon. But as you can see, only like the helmet and the little space mover, these 2 are the only ones that count for this one. So what you'll likely do is start here, whatever you started out with, and then start moving into these bigger point ones, then go there on your last turn. So The game is really, you get money every turn for free. How you spend your money will dictate what powers you have, and then you roll the dice, and you can mitigate those dice attack. The problem is everybody's going to routinely accomplish pretty much the same thing every game, and every game kind of plays out the same, at least in my endeavors. It's a game I really wanted to like. I like the components and everything, or the theme of the game, but felt a little flat for me. But this is a game I would recommend you trying out. So that's 1969. Who should buy this game? I'm going to say, obviously, people who like the space program. There are different countries in the game. Some of them are odd, like Canada being there was a little odd to me. But they're just window covering, doesn't matter. If you're into the space program and you like that kind of thing, maybe you lived through 1969 of going to there and all that went with it. It was a huge global thing, and maybe that was just big in America, but I think it was global. This would be really neat. This could be like a time capsule to play with your son or daughter and teach them through it. There's not going to be a lot of history in the game. It's not going to be like Twilight Struggle where there's this car that teaches you the history of the game, which I love when games do that. This isn't going to be it. Otherwise, I think this game is a definite try before you buy, and maybe even just a pass. While it's a solid design and a solid game, I'm not sure it's going to have the variety to bring you back. I would even go as far as say don't pass on this game, but just try it. See if it appeals to you. Maybe the manipulation of the scientist will be interesting to you. I think that's really where the fun is going to be in this game. Otherwise, it's a try before you buy, and I'm going to be purging this game. 1969 will leave my collection. Solid, but that's all it gets.